As we all know, a Toastmasters meeting is traditionally in three parts. The first is the prepared presentations, the second is the impromptu presentations or table topics, and the third part is the evaluations. We're now moving on to the prepared presentations, and we have one prepared speech tonight, and I am really, really looking forward to this. It's not often, even in an advanced club like this, that you get to see level 3 projects, because you've got to have got a fairer way through your pathway to get to here. But we do tonight have a level 3 project. This is from the dynamic leadership path. And Karry is going to be speaking negotiate the best outcome. Now, this is a really interesting project, and it's going to be evaluated by Jim Barber. But Karry is going to be giving a speech about navigating her journey from the street market to building a life and career. Along the way, learning about negotiation, resilience, and resourcefulness every step of the way. So, for a period of 5 to 7 minutes, with from earrings to everything, negotiating the best outcome, will you please welcome Karry Kong?
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, let me share my screen. Good evening or good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. 7 years ago, I was traveling in Bangkok when I spotted them. A pair of really beautiful silver earrings, sparkling under the warm yellow lights of a crowded night markets. The vendor smiled to me and he said, "Pretty girl, you deserve this. Only 800 baht." I grinned. "Can you lower the price? Next store only has a pair for 400." He shook his head. "Mine are of better quality. Plus, I have the color that she didn't have." And I countered, "What about $500? We went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just like tennis match. I even walked away once and I came back. He called me back and I walked away and I came back. Finally, we settled at something that is at the middle ground, which is 600 baht. He acted like he barely made any profit, but I know that was not the case. And I walked away satisfactory with this really beautiful pair of earrings. That was really fun. Bargaining for earrings, a pair of earrings, is really easy. But bargaining for your life, that's like a whole different market. Today, my deal isn't just about jewelry. My big bargaining and negotiation in life is about where to live and where to work. As all of you have known, or some of you who doesn't know, I've actually built my career starting in Boston after I graduating from my master's degree in New Hampshire and Dartmouth. But actually, my husband's family is based in North Carolina. Tell you a little secret. We're planning to have our kids very soon. But family support will be really crucial to us. In Boston, we have no one. In Boston, job opportunities are everywhere, especially I'm working in the field of finance. In North Carolina, fewer jobs, lower salaries, and potentially there are less Asian communities as well. And there are a lot of things I need to consider. So we negotiated. I told my husband. If I move, I might earn less and there are less job opportunities. But I know we'll be together, where family support is really crucial for our kids. And you could be closer to your parents, which we can take care of them. He replied and he frowned upon. You know, I really, really want to support your career, but being close to my family really means a lot to us. And our children, they can grow up with the support from his or her grandparents with a lot of love. Plus, my parents are getting older and I really want to care for them. Life is just not easy. And finally, we went on hours and hours of discussions and even took days until he reached some concessions. After some confrontations and love, if I cannot find a job, I can explore maybe remote options or even stay in Boston, that he said, until you look for the jobs that you like. If I have a career gap, that would be disaster to me, but I know we can have some ways to deal with that. We can always have a plan B, like a temporary job, or even I can start my own businesses, trying something else, and definitely to save right now. In this way, we negotiating some outcome in the middle ground. And through this process, I realized life negotiations actually follows the same principles as bargaining for a pair of earrings in Bangkok. Step number one, listen and set expectations. Like I listened to the vendor story about quality, and with my husband, I listened to his need about family, closeness, taking care for for his parents, and he listens to my ambitions in my career. Second, prioritize. In Bangkok, I want a fair price. The vendor wants a sale. In life, I value career, my proximity to the city, and the easiness of working. And my husband values about kids and nearby the family and everything else. Step 3. Find the middle ground. With the earrings, we landed at 600 baht, which is in the middle price. And in this situation, he agrees that he can wait until we find a job in North Carolina. And definitely, there are a lot of different plans that we can plan for the transitions, such as Plan B, relocation, remote jobs, temporary job opportunities. Step 4, review and adjust. Earrings are permanent. Life isn't. We've agreed to revisit these goals in a couple months or maybe in a year or two so we can adjust. Because opportunities might change, markets are changing. And here's what I learned: negotiation isn't about winning, it's about balance. Know your priorities and be ready to compromise, and the right deal, it will be better sized to deal with. So, fellow Toastmasters, I really want to let you know the next time when you face a tough decisions, whether it's at work, at home, or even a street market, remember to listen, prioritize, compromise, and review. Thank you so much. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you very much, Karry. As you say, it's not always about winning, it's about balance. So I thank you for that. And I also got to say they're a very pretty looking pair of earrings. My wife makes earrings. She doesn't charge anywhere near 600 baht, which is, from my calculation, about $18 US. I wish she would, though, because then I could live in luxury because she'd be making all this money. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. We're both retired. Anyway, leaving that aside. Thank you. Can I get the time for Karry's presentation, by the way, please, Annie?
Yes, Karry's presentation was 7 minutes and 7 seconds.
Perfect timing. Excellent, excellent. Now, we don't need to vote for Best Speaker of the Day, unless David wants to create a poll just so that we can vote for Karry as Best Speaker of the Day. But congratulations, Karry, on winning Best Speaker of the Day. Yay, well done. Normally we would have a second presentation from a club member, but we haven't today. Instead, we have something special. Pat Johnson is a former international president of Toastmasters International. She joined back in 1983 in northern Manitoba in Canada. She's had 40 odd years of continuous learning and membership in Toastmasters, spoken in a long list of countries. I've met her a couple of times. She is a genuinely delightful person, but also a truly, truly passionate Toastmaster. She wrote the book, as it were, Building and Sustaining Vibrant and Sustainable Toastmasters Programs in Corporations in 2018, because corporate membership is her big thing. But she also spoke at the 2025 International Convention in Philadelphia just this last week. Now, for those of us who weren't able to get there, this is not one of the presentations which is available for download, as far as I know, but I do know that somebody, probably Andrew, recorded this presentation. And so, Andrew, if you would be so kind, if you can show us this presentation by Pat Johnson at the 2025 International Convention. Andrew, all yours.
Okay, let me go and locate this. Okay, where are we here? I just had it opened. Where'd it go? Okay, Pat Johnson. Okay, share screen. Documents. Screen. So there we go. Okay, share there. And this is 7 minutes, 34 seconds.
We stand on the shoulders of giants. For over 100 years, Toastmasters International has been an organization, more than an organization. It has been a sanctuary for growth, a crucible for transformation, and a launch pad for leaders worldwide. We've weathered wars, recessions, pandemics, and cultural shifts, and each time we rose, not because it was easy, but because leaders like you believed that this mission matters. Nelson Mandela, the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999, once said, "Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that great generation. Let your greatness blossom." Our past proves that we can do hard things and emerge stronger, but our past is not our destination. It is our foundation. And today, we stand at another crossroads. The world is changing digitally, socially, economically. Our clubs are evolving, our districts are innovating, yet the core question remains for us. Will we rise? Not alone, but together as a united global community of Toastmasters. Mandela also reminded us that we can change the world and make it a better place. It is in our hands to make a difference. So I ask you, fellow Toastmasters, what do you want to create? What do you want your clubs to become? What kind of leader will you be? Clarity is the very first step from victim to empowered leader, and that journey begins now, today. Too often in life, we wait for the right time, the right support, the perfect conditions. But empowered leaders know that circumstances don't happen to us, they happen for us. Every challenge is an invitation to grow, to adapt, and to lead. Let's walk through 3 courageous choices that we can make together today. Number 1, let's find the courage to get clear. Define your vision for your club, your district, your personal growth. Don't just do better, but be specific about what that mission looks like for you, that vision. What will it look like when you arrive? Own your desire. Waiting for permission is the habit of the disempowered, and we're done waiting. Shift from victim to victor by claiming your power through every speech, every Pathways project, every evaluation, every leadership role that you take on. Victims wait for change to happen while leaders go out and create it. Let's create it now in our clubs, our communities, and in ourselves. Because when you move towards empowerment, your world transforms in amazing ways, both inside and out. Secondly, let's find the courage to take ownership. Own every action you take, or every inaction you choose. Own every speech you deliver, every call you make or don't make, every vote you cast. We know that accountability breeds respect for yourself and for others. Respect, in turn, builds trust, and trust drives transformation. Hold yourself and others accountable, and then lead by example, because that's the most powerful leadership there is in the world. In Toastmasters, we're interdependent. We rise together or fall together. When one club struggles, it's not their problem, it's ours. And yet, when one member shines, we all shine. And thirdly, let's find the courage to build together. We've endured downturns, district changes, and membership declines, and we're still here. But no one club, team, or district can do this alone. We must share what works with one another and lift each other up. Lean into our common mission, which is to empower individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. This isn't just a tagline for us, it's a torch, and we, you and I, are those torch bearers today. Interdependence is not weakness. It is, in fact, our greatest strength. We must remember that challenges aren't barriers, they're opportunities. Opportunities to grow, stretch, collaborate, and lead in ways that we never imagined. Fellow leaders, the road ahead won't always be easy, but the rewards, the rewards will be transformational. We have the clarity, we have the courage, and we have the community. Now we must decide. Will we be the generation that waited, or the one that acted? The generation that stumbled apart, or the one that rose together? Let's not wait for greatness, let's be the greatness that rises. Let us be the leaders who turn challenge into triumph, who move from for us to by us, and who lift others as we climb. Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that generation. Let your greatness blossom. We can change the world and make it a better place. It is in our hands to make a difference. Fellow Toastmasters and friends, the first step is very clear. Decide what you want, and then take that first bold step together with one another. Be brave, be empowered, be accountable leaders. Let's be great together.
Thank you, Andrew, for that presentation, and I'm also, obviously, thanks to Pat for that message that let's be great together. Thank you, Andrew. Full of really interesting observations. One that struck me was that interdependence is not weakness. It is, in fact, our greatest strength. So thank you for presenting that for us today. Time now to move from the prepared presentations, and I guess you would call that a prepared presentation. Obviously, she prepared it, presented it at the convention. But from now, let's move on to the impromptu presentations, and that is table topics. We're all Toastmasters here. We know how table topics works, but to give us her particular spin on this, please welcome Kritika Devi Venkataram. Kritika.
Thank you, Graham. The message from the last presentation is like taking ownership, being yourself, get empowered, and the way that your passion flows over gets growing with Toastmasters. I'm really empowered today to present before you with the theme that I wanted to flow. It's kiss and make up. This phrase originally dated back in 1440, where the expression largely was to have a mending and reconciling period between friends. This also has got extended towards even having a political figure settling down a dispute. Let's today see what kind of dispute that we will be settling down with our members, between our members, communicating with each other, and how are we going to express ourselves with the qualities that are required, especially communication skill. Okay. First, let me quickly share I think my share is clean. Am I visible as well?
No, you're, well, yes, you are, somehow. I'm not sure how that's working, but yes, you are.
Okay.
Well, you're showing in side-by-side speaker, which is how I've got my screen set up, but we can see your screen. It's just a blank brown square at this stage.
Fine. That shouldn't be a problem. So first, I would like to call upon our guest, Annie. Would you like to take part in our table topics today?
Yes.
Great. So here is your question. Your favorite moment in life, showing empathy to turn fight into friendship. Can you explain your favorite moment in life?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. My favourite moment in life, turning empathy into friendship. That was the question, I believe. Sorry, it's all happening quickly, and I'm timing myself. So here we go. Whew. It would be when I was 19 and I was studying a computer science degree. I know there's a computer scientist or two among the people here. And I did eventually get that degree, but the point was I didn't enjoy it. And I was 19 and I found myself volunteering for an organisation that had children with severe and multiple disabilities. I just found myself there. That's all I'll say. I took 2 trains and skipped some of my classes, and there I was. And I believe, if I can remember the question correctly, it was about turning empathy into friendship. So there it is. I can remember so clearly being exposed to this world where these young children, almost none of them could speak. Many of them had cerebral palsy. And I can remember being out there in the lunch breaks and seeing this young girl called Rachel, who was about my age. She was about 19, about the same age as me, and clearly so intelligent, but completely unable to talk. But she had a little back then, a very rudimentary communication system. And I am going to change my lights at the same time. I'm slightly late. And I was so drawn to the way that she would blink her eyes to say yes, and she could sort of grimace for a no. And every lunchtime I would sit with her and was drawn into her world and imagining what that was like for her to live in that world. Became incredibly interested in that area of life, and I later came on to be a principal of a special school, and it started from that empathy that I had with her back then, and it became my passion, basically one of my many passions, but was to work in special ed for most of my career, including being a special school of these children who deserve our empathy, not our sympathy, but our understanding, and then ultimately our friendship. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Annie, for sharing your thoughts. It's quite interesting. Next, I would like to ask our second guest, Mr. Rahul Ramakrishnan. Would you like to take part in today's table topic?
Sorry, I I guess you didn't hear me. Yes, please.
Thank you. Here is your question. Can you explain about a time that saved your energy being mindful after a big fight? Can you tell me about a time that saved your energy being mindful after a big fight?
Table topic, master, fellow Toastmasters, and friends. It's quite a interesting topic, as I had a kind of a fight this morning with my wife, and your topic is so timely because it was for a very trivial reason that we picked up a fight. She was trying to convey or communicate something to me. I assumed, which most of the time I always assume that she's in the wrong and I'm always right. And it so happened that as always, she was right and I was wrong. So we were to a point that she was rushing to work and I was also getting ready to go to work. And I just slammed the door and I went out without picking my car keys. And then, you know, she went into the restroom to get ready. And there I was ringing the bell, trying to get into the house, and she wouldn't open the door. So I had to wait for almost 10 minutes before she came out and opened the door for me. And that 10 minutes which I was waiting outside the door was the most reflective or the mindful time for me, because that's when I was reflecting on, hey, what did I do? How could I have averted this situation? How could I have listened to her, been more patient, and not, and at the end of the day, not forgotten my keys? So long story short, that was a lesson which turned into, and of course, I made up with my wife within a few minutes, but that was a good lesson for me to, which kind of turned mindfulness into friendship. Thank you, Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Rahul Ramakrishnan. You have shared your personal story. I could take from today's discussion, being interdependent, that how it could also solve our official problems as well. Being a single mother, I should see how my interdependence between me and my family could solve a lot many problems in a later stage. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Are there any volunteers today to take up further table topics session? Can I have some volunteers?
I won't mention that Sherry hasn't got any other roles.
Okay, I can hear that. Sherry, it's for you. And that's Graham wanted to nominate you. Here is your question. Your favorite moment in life. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you express a time your focus helped to resolve an issue during a reconciliation period? Can you express a time your focus helped to resolve an issue during a reconciliation period? Over to you, Sherry.
Thank you so much. And Graham, thank you for the nomination. I appreciate it. Okay, my focus helped during a reconciliation period. I may be paraphrasing that. Wow, that's a tough question. So I need to first think of maybe a conflict where I had to resolve that. I'm going to take the example of when my son was younger in school. Yeah, because there were lots of conflicts with him while he was in school, whether it be teachers or students. And I have to admit, I was that type of parent who understood her child and understood that he wasn't perfect, who understood that he had his issues like we all do, right? But I'm the type of person where I believe that we should provide our children with opportunities to make adjustments. So now getting to the part of focusing and reconciliation, I used to always have these conflicts with the administration because I just got so tired of them calling me all the time for things that I felt were trivial. Now, I don't take away from what teachers go through, right? Because if I was a teacher, I probably would get sick and tired of your kid always doing what he shouldn't do. And my son's stuff was just like, in my opinion, it was just like it was stuff that he should not have been doing. Like he's sitting in the back row, talking to the child in the first row, having a blown out conversation. And I'm like, dude, this is not what we should be doing. So I guess my blow up with the administration is handle it. Stop calling me. Stop taking me away from my work. So I just had to focus and understand from their perspective on what they might be going through with my pain in the butt son. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Cherry. August 25th is the National Kiss and Makeup Day, founded to encourage people to mend and to reconcile. Your thoughts will add to it as well. Let's pass on to the next volunteer. Are there any volunteers? Okay, then let me pick. Marianne, would you like to be a part of today's table topic session?
Sure.
Great. I love your enthusiasm. Here is your question. Tell me about a time that your passion resulted success or created an impact. Tell me about a time that your passion resulted success or created an impact. Over to you, Maria.
Thank you for that question, Madam Table Topics Master. When I was working, I was the head of the HR department, and I did notice that many of our employees and managers struggled to communicate effectively. So I read a book called Crucial Conversations, and I found a lot of tips in this book that were really important in my development of communication, things that I continue to use through this day. But I really felt like everyone in my company needed to read the book. So what I did was I got certified to teach the class on this book, and I made all my employees take it. And once I did that, I really saw a big improvement, or I should say a big reduction in the amount of people who were coming into my office complaining about how the other communicated. So I felt like it was a success. And I still carried it on with my children, trying to jam it down their throat and make them read it. And they didn't want to. So they thought they all knew how to communicate well. But I had to laugh. My son called me from a business trip recently, and he said, "Mom, guess where I am?" And I'm like, "Where? I don't know." He says, "I'm in California." And he goes, "I'm in a Crucial Conversations class that my boss made me take. And I thought that was awesome. So I felt like that book is a really integral part of who I am at this point. And I read it probably like 25 years ago. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Wow, Marian, you were able to remember so well that was done before 25 years before. I mean, that was read 25 years before. Graham, just a quick note, can I have one more or should I have to close this off?
We are out of time, but if we'll do one more, but it'll have to be quick, whoever responds.
Wow, super cool. So Kiara's the last one. And the last one goes to Jim. Show me your confidence that it prepared you to resolve a big fight. If so, when and how? Tell me about a time that your confidence prepared you to resolve a big fight. If so, when and how?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master, and I'll make this quick. I try to avoid fights. I find that that is the best way to be a victor. If you get into a fight, you are almost guaranteed to lose, especially if you're fighting in a relationship. If you win, you lose. If you lose, obviously you lose. You can't win in a fight like that. And so, frankly, I think the best thing you can do is avoid it. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
It was quite short and to the point. Thank you, Jim. Okay, I believe we had a wonderful time today, and it's time for me to hand it over to the Toastmaster of the day. Over to you, Graham.
Thank you, Kritika. Thank you very much for that. David, if you can put up actually, before we go any further, Annie, can we get the times on those presentations?
Yes, I was 2:15, Rahul 2:14, Sherry 2:19, Marianne 1:54, Jim 27 seconds.
But given that I told Jim he had to be quick, I'm going to make an executive decision and say he's eligible as well. So, David, if you can please put together the vote in the chat. Everybody, you get the opportunity now to vote for the best table topics presenter. And I'll now hand control of the meeting to our general evaluator, Marianne Grady. Yay, Marianne.
Well, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Marianne Grady here, and as you all know, this is the gift of feedback portion of the meeting. This is where we really tend to learn a lot of the things we learn here. And it doesn't have to be an evaluation of our own speech. It could be listening to the evaluation of someone else's. So everyone learns now. First up, we have Jim Barber, who's evaluating Karry Kong's speech. So please put your hands together for Mr. Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters, and of course, especially Toastmaster Karry Kong. Karry, evaluating you, just listening to you, if I'm not an evaluator, either one, you give such delightful presentations. It's always a joy to hear you give a presentation. Tonight was no exception. I'm going to quickly run through the things that you did well because I think you've already heard this before. You are comfortable and conversational in your presentation. You don't preach to us, you don't talk to us, you simply talk with us. You held a conversation, and that's so well done. Your vocabulary is strong, your pronunciation is right on target, at top notch all the way. I love your pacing. This gets back to your being conversational. Again, it wasn't stilted. You know how to use the pause, both an extended pause and a slight pause. But your pace is not stilted. It's not predictable. It's just very conversational. It's musical almost. And I like to hear that. Very, very good. Let's talk about the visual part of it right quickly. For the most part, this was very good. Your eye contact, top notch. The use of the visual frame, again, that's very good. Your lighting, all of these things were very effective. I do have a couple of suggestions for you. One, as we can see up here, I love your background. That looks very, very nice. And you have a quotation. I like the title of your presentation. It's in there. Very good. It's big enough that we can see it. However, we can only see part of it. It's hidden. There we are. We can't see, we can see from earring to every, and we're not quite sure what it is. And that's just a little bit distracting. It would be nice, although I like the title being large, if it were a little bit smaller so that we could actually see the entire thing. It wouldn't be distracting. We wouldn't be wondering what we were missing. Also, let's see. Your slide, when you got to doing your slides were effective and attractive. However, people have heard this before, and I'm going to see if I can pull this up because I have a passion about this. There we go. And let's see, this is what we saw when you were using your slides. Okay, nope, that isn't what we saw. Pulled up the wrong one. This is what we saw when we saw your slides. Your slides look very good. You look very good, but we need a microscope in order to see you. You're so tiny over there. Now, this isn't your fault. This is the way Zoom works. But knowing that this is the way Zoom works, I would love to see you as part of the slide, which means that you would look something like ta-da, this. Now, of course, this is just something that I copy and pasted together, but have you predominate in the presentation rather than or at least coexist with the slide rather than being one little tiny part over at the side. But these are minor points. This was an enjoyable and very energetic presentation, and I look forward to your next one. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Well, thank you, Jim. Always insightful when you give your feedback. Now, we have a list of reporters who have helped us evaluate everything that's happened in our meeting. So the first person up will be Andy Byrne, who is our counter of the day.
Thank you very much, Marianne. There weren't very many instances to report because everybody was so passionate about talking about Toastmasters. I did pick up one or two things, however. Annie had an episode that used a filler word, and there was a also in there. Otherwise, everybody did an exceptional job. I didn't hear any ums and ahs per se, but I think everybody did a great job. There was a restart that Annie had done during her speech. So she was talking, stopped, and then started over again. So there's a restart, which is called a double clutch. But other than that, everything was fine. Everything was great. Back to you.
I love doing that job in this club because everyone makes it easy, right? All right, next will be our grammarian, Asil. Asil, let us know how we did tonight.
Everyone did well. Everyone spoke so beautifully. Sorry if I missed anyone who used the word of the day, but I heard from Dr. Sunny, Dr. Andrew, Sherry, Annie, and Graham. Graham started our meeting with this phrase that was humorous and engaging. Let's get ready to ramble. Karry used some excellent language tonight. Her phrase, negotiation, resilience, and resourcefulness had a nice rhythm, classic three-part list. Sparkling under the warm yellow lights was beautiful imagery that pointed a vivid picture. And her description back and forth, just like a tennis match, was a simile that made the idea lively and easy to imagine. And especially I liked life and negotiation like a pair of earrings, another simile that was creative and memorable. Well done, Karry. I also like the phrase, interdependence is not weakness, It's concise, powerful, and uses contrast to make a strong point. And another standout phrase was, it wasn't stilted. Stilted means steep or unnatural, so this was a nice way to say that speech flowed naturally. That is my report. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam General
Very
Evaluator.
strong report, Estelle. Wonderful. Thank you. Next up, we have Dr. Sunny Fridge with our Watchers report.
Thank you, General Evaluator. First, I'd like to just give a shout out. Oopsie, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can hear you.
I believe somebody's unmuted, but I can't find them. But I wanted to give a shout out to Karry. That's who not Karry in a minute, but Asil, because she displays the word of the day. So I enjoyed that. And Allison Blakeman, in terms of her background earlier, we mentioned she did a play on the word kiss. Love that. And loved Karry's speech just like everyone else. Only one little thing that I did catch, if you look closely, Karry, bargaining is misspelled. Just something maybe you can look at from time to time. I do it as well. And Andy, when you did your video, I'm so glad that you were able to fill in to have us have a speaker. However, you technically, I would suggest maybe you didn't need to be on camera in a two-shot, and that happens when you share your screen and you pick two sides. So maybe in the future you might just have one screen, and that would have been a pad. So just a suggestion. And loved Karthika's creativity. Karthika, a suggestion might only be to make the question bigger, but it was a wonderful idea. I enjoyed the way you flipped the questions. So thank you for that. I think that is all that I had. Yes, but I do want to compliment everyone in here, because what we all did was we had our backgrounds. The only problem about a background is then we forget to be creative depending on the theme. So that's the only challenge, and maybe sometimes we'll have to have two backgrounds at one point. But in any case, I loved watching you today. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Great observations, Dr. Sunny. I liked it. All right, next we have our chat monitor, Mr. David Carr. David, what were we talking about in the chat?
I think the chat was mostly just pretty functional business for the most part, so I don't have a lot to report based on the chat.
Okay, well then I think I will give you my report, a general evaluation of the meeting. I like that we had a tip of the day, and David, that was wonderful the way you explained the voting tool, because it's great that other people would be able to do it so you don't get stuck all the time. Next, we did start on time. And I thought it was an excellent idea to use a recorded speech. And the speech that you selected, Andy, was motivational, and I think it was very timely in the, some of the leadership perspectives I think we could all use at this point. So wonderful choice. And it really went to, the passion that we all have for Toastmasters, and, up in our game is a good thing. Now, the last thing was the creative table topics. Karthika, you are always stretching yourself when it comes to tech, and you're trying new things. And I think it's fabulous, because I am not a techie and I'm always so impressed. I would suggest that you just try it out a little more so it's a little more fluid, but excellent job tonight. And I loved your questions. That's all I have for tonight. So I will pass it on to David Carr to give us the results of our voting.
We had a grand total of one thing to vote on tonight, which was table topics. Best table topic of the evening was Raul, who unfortunately has already left, but we'll have to send him along a note to let him know that he was in fact the table topics winner. I think we're often a little bit generous to people who are visiting as guests because we want them to come back, but he also did a good job. That's it.
Okay, then we'll go back to our Toastmaster of the day, Graham.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for that, for your general evaluation. Thank you for David for running the voting. Thank you for everybody for your contributions. Before we go too much further, let's take a look at our next meeting, which is on officially the 1st of September. That is, it's the 1st of September for you guys. It'll be the 2nd of September for those of us in the Southern Hemisphere. And because it is the 2nd of September in the Southern Hemisphere, in North America, your seasons change, as I understand it, on the 21st of the month. So your autumn or fall won't actually begin until I think it's the 21st of September. But for those of us in the Southern Hemisphere, the seasons change on the 1st of the month. And we're officially going into spring, and oh, I am so looking forward to things warming up. So the theme for next meeting is Seasons of Change. You can do with that whatever you wish if you're going to be the Toastmaster, which is my way of calling for volunteers for the role of Toastmaster for the next meeting. Do we have a volunteer for the role of Toastmaster for the next meeting?